Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. It is Thursday, March 20th, the first day of March Madness. I know there were games the last couple nights, but let's be honest, the madness begins today, and it begins quickly, just about an hour and 20 minutes away from the tip of the official March Madness, in my opinion, of the NCAA tournament. Thank you guys so much for watching us here on a Thursday. If you're watching live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing, getting ever so close to 800 subscribers. So if you've not yet subscribed, please do so ASAP. Then also tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing here in the Quad Cities. Off the air every single day, about 2 hours of sports talk, interviews, and a whole bunch more. We appreciate everyone who supported the show so far. We also want to thank everybody watching live on X. X has been fantastic to us this week, and hopefully that will continue today as well. We got a great show lined up. And also, if you missed the show, and you want to check it out later, obviously you can do so on YouTube, but you can also go check it out on a podcasting platform as well. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we should be, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, all of those great apps. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you should be able to check out Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. And if you can't find us, let me know. I'll make sure I'll get on that platform as well. Yesterday, fun show. Tom Kaker joined us talking about the latest in the Iowa coaching search. I think we kind of got to wait and see now. We'll wait and watch how Drake does in the NCAA tournament, and then it's Ben McCullum or bust, I guess, or other coaches. We'll get to that later on, maybe tomorrow as well. But check out Tom Kakert from yesterday. A lot of it's still very, very relevant. One name he threw out that I thought was interesting, got some love on social media, and it wasn't a I've heard this is going to happen thing. It was more of an interesting candidate that he's kind of had on there from the start. But Ryan Bowen was an interesting conversation to talk about. He's with the Denver Nuggets, of course, former Hawkeye that went to Fort Mattson as well. So we talked about that and much more. Go check out that show yesterday. Also, Jake Brent was on talking Cyclones, the Iowa State women winning last night, Iowa State men playing tomorrow in Milwaukee. And, of course, my buddy T-Roy from the old Don't Hassle Us, We're Local days, beginning his debut of his mock draft .08 NFL mock draft. It was a lot of fun, so check out yesterday's show as soon as you can. But don't go anywhere. Watch this show first because we got a great one for you today. Really super excited about my first guest coming up in a matter of moments. He's a local product. Matt Drinkall went to Bettendorf High School, played football at the University of Iowa, got into coaching after that. He coached at Bettendorf High School at St. Ambrose, my alma mater. He was the head coach at Kansas Wesleyan, did a great job there. He was the offensive coordinator and an offensive line coach at Army the past 5 seasons, and recently he was named the head football coach at Central Michigan. Matt Drinkall from Central Michigan will join us in a matter of moments. A lot to talk to about with him. Obviously, his first head coaching job at the Division I level. Also, a ton of local ties on his staff, on his roster as well, and local ties when it comes to knuckleheads he hangs out with, like Pat Anger and Joe Conklin and those kind of people. So we will get caught up with Matt Drinkall. Really fun interview coming up in a matter of moments. Also on today's show, we'll talk to Jim Mattson as he gets ready to head up to Milwaukee to cover the Fighting Illini. We'll talk to him about how Illinois looks now that they have an opponent. They now know they'll get Xavier tomorrow night, a later night start in Milwaukee, but he'll have full preview of Xavier, Illinois, and a lot more. And then also we'll end the show with my Final Four picks. I got an 8-year-old running around here that wants to give his Final Four picks. Maybe we'll put Carson on here as well. So a lot to get to on today's show. I want to remind everybody, as I mentioned, March Madness starts in about an hour and 15 minutes. You still have time. And if you do, run and do this. Our bracket challenge for Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Well over 100 people in the pool right now. The winner gets a great package from our sponsors you see there on the bottom of the screen, but a large specialty or 3-topping pizza from Godfather's, also a large chips and salsa and dozen enchiladas from Snoop, and then a $20 gift card to Hungry Hobo, our fantastic sponsors, making sure that this happens. So jump on there, absolutely free. I don't want your money. I don't want anything like that. Just want you to hop on, fill out a bracket. Hopefully you can win some fantastic food right here in the Quad Cities. Thanks to our three of our fantastic sponsors. Also adding Rafferty Funeral Home to the sponsor list here real soon as well. So excited about that and more next week. So excited and thankful, extremely grateful and thankful for the sponsors who have jumped on board Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. So get in the pool as soon as you possibly can. Also, on today's show, we have, or I should say, we mentioned Illinois and Xavier. That is the matchup. Xavier beating Texas yesterday, so they will play in Milwaukee. Also, college basketball news yesterday, Josh Dix and Cooper Koch both add their names to the transfer portal. Josh Dix might be the number one transfer portal recruit, if you will, in the nation right now. He's not coming back to the University of Iowa. He's going to have a lot of opportunities. Cooper Koch is interesting because he's an Iowa kid. His dad, of course, JR, went and played at Iowa. He's been a Hawkeye his entire life. He wanted to go to Iowa. He even mentioned in his social media posts that he will continue to monitor the Iowa basketball situation. So I think Iowa is going to be an option, but he's going to have a lot of opportunities as well. A very talented 6'8" shooter, fits a lot of what college basketball is these days. So he'll have his opportunities at other places as well. When we talk to Jim Mattson coming up in a little bit, we'll talk to him about Cooper Koch because he's from the Peoria area. Jim Mattson covered him a lot. So we'll get Jim's thoughts and feedback from that as well. Also last night in the women's tournament, it was Iowa State winning. They knocked off Princeton. Looked good early, awful in the second quarter. They were down 13 at the half. They go on to win by 5. Audie Crooks and company, fantastic once again. So congratulations to Bill Fenley. I think it was win number 800 for the Bett or for the Davenport native. So congratulations to the Iowa State Cyclones. They move on in the NCAA tournament as well. But on a March Madness Thursday, we're going to start with some football and someone that I was super excited to catch up with. The Bettendorf grad and the new head coach at Central Michigan. Matt Drinkall joins us now. And Coach, I mentioned before we get on, I've watched your ascension through the coaching ranks from afar. Really admire what you do and really excited. Thank you for doing this, taking some time to talk to an unemployed guy hanging out in his loft trying to do a TV show.
Man, I've been watching you cover the Quad Cities forever, so this is great to finally sit down and get a chance to visit with you. And like I said, even since I've been out of the Quad Cities, I follow that thing every week. So this is great to finally sit down with you.
I love it. I appreciate you doing it. We have some mutual friends we'll talk about throughout the interview, Pat Anger, Joe Conklin, people like that. So they told me this is
that we don't have any good-looking or cool friends.
No.
And those are two of our friends. We should say it that way.
Exactly. I don't know if they want me calling them their friend. Maybe acquaintance is the best term for it, but really good people. We'll talk about them in a second. But, Coach, you are the new head coach at the Division I level at Central Michigan. When you hear that, you're a Division I head football coach, and the journey you've gone through, what does it mean to have your own program at the Division I level?
It's one of those things like when you're young and you get into coaching, you think you're just like, oh, I want to coach. I'll probably end up as the coach of the New England Patriots one day. That'll be easy. And then you get into the coaching profession and realize that it takes an act of God and unbelievable amounts of luck to ever get an interview for one of these jobs, let alone have dumb enough luck for like somebody like me to end up getting one of these jobs, which is great. So it's been surreal. I got hired right before the Army-Navy game. I was at Army last couple of years. I was O-line coach there this last year. And so I've been here for 3 months, but it feels like 3 minutes almost every day. So it's like there's new stuff to do and new challenges, but it's been really fun.
You mentioned before we started the interview that it felt like home. What is it about that community and Central Michigan that fits Matt Drinkall and what you want to do with the football program moving forward?
Yeah, so like I grew up down by the river in Bettendorf. So my dad worked at Caterpillar when I was growing up till the plant closed and then went over to work at Sears Manufacturing. But I took this job sight unseen. So I had never been to Mount Pleasant, Michigan before. So If you don't know where it is, which I didn't when I got hired, it's dead. The state looks like a mitten or like a big glove. It's right in the middle of it. So we're an hour north of Michigan State and about 2 hours straight north and a little bit west of Detroit and Ann Arbor, where Michigan is. So the community is 30,000 people. Communities come in from outside the area. So it's a lot like Iowa. It is exactly like growing up on the eastern side and southern part of Bettendorf and Eldridge. It is all like blue collar ag industry people, informal, but in a really good way. It's not quite like who know me. Like West Point was probably a little too formal for me, but I needed that to grow. But this is just like right aligned with exactly kind of who I am, my speed, how I do stuff. So it has felt a lot like home.
So, Coach, it goes fast. You've been there for a few months, but it seems like 5 minutes. What has it been like getting your program set up? Because I don't know if you know this, but spring football's here. Like, I mean, it goes quick. So what has the last couple months been like? Because it does go fast.
Dude, it was wild. So I got, like I said, I got hired right in the middle of December. So I got here, and literally the day I did my press conference, I then went and met with the team, and then everyone left. So it was Christmas break. So every kid left campus. The school closed for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I needed to transition staff out, get people job offers, move them across the whole country, get the whole staff of 30-some people hired and in place, and then build a recruiting plan and host recruits transfers on campus, all while the school's closed. So to get ready for the start of the spring semester, and then you're installing an entire football program. So I'm really lucky that I've been able to hire some unbelievable staff members that have helped out a lot with that. But it has been like drinking from a fire hose, man, like every second of every day, but in a good way. It's a new challenge, and it's really exciting. It's new problems to solve.
Matt Drinkall joining us right now, new head coach at Central Michigan. And Coach, we're going to go back to those Bettendorf days, because you played at Bettendorf, you went to Iowa, played a couple seasons in Iowa, I know got hurt. When did you realize that you wanted to go down this road, that coaching was in your blood, and that you wanted to become a Division I head football coach?
I didn't really I'm trying to give an interesting answer without being long-winded. So I had no idea what I was going to. Went to Iowa, got hurt when I was playing there, and then I was like, I thought going to be to finish college and probably join the military. So I have way older siblings that are way older than me, and one of my older brother's retired Navy, which I tried to not tell very many people when I was in Army. But he that was kind of my plan. I didn't really have a plan going into college. You know what I mean? I just kines major and figure it out later, and kind of, I think, unfortunately, like what a lot of people do. And when I got hurt, I had 7 surgeries on my leg, and Coach Ferentz used to always talk, and I was a bad player, like terrible. Coach Ferentz used to always talk about, like, however you can help, everyone can help us in some capacity. So out of 3 years of college, like almost 2 years of it on crutches from these surgeries on my left leg. So I just started going in the offices and sitting around with the coaches all the time. And then it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, you guys get paid to do this? This seems like it'd be pretty cool. So I originally got into it as a strength coach. And then I realized you have to listen to that kind of music all day, every day. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that. So, I got into it. And I really just, with my career, I think when I got into what helped me a lot is I have a very unconventional path where I'd been in Division I, went out of Division I. I made a strategic choice. I wanted to go down in level so I could go up in title, if that makes sense. I did not want to go D1 to D1 to D1, where I was just a GA and you're 32 years old and I've GA'd for 10 years. I got no money, no experience. I wanted to do it different. Plus, part of the reason I took the job at Ambrose was my mom was fighting diet. She passed away in 19, so she was at the tail end of fighting diabetes. So it was a nice way for us to like learn, like help my parents mow the grass and stuff like that. So, I had no connections in coaching whatsoever, no idea, no preconceived notions. So it just allowed me to go enjoy the whole experience and process. Like when I was painting grass practice fields at St. Ambrose, I didn't care for no money. I didn't care. I was having a good time. I was surrounded by good people, coaching great kids at a great place. Like I was having a blast. So that, and then the higher up you go and the older you get, you realize there's a little bit more business components to it. You try to navigate those as best as you can. And But I will tell you this, dude. Like, the more you try to worry about the career part as opposed to the job and doing a really good job, the worse it is and the worse you are. I'm just going to really, really enjoy this, doing it the way I want to do it. That was the biggest appeal to me, and we'll see if it works or not.
So, Coach, before you get going at St. Ambrose, you spent a couple years at your alma mater at Bettendorf, and the website at Central Michigan literally calls Pat Anger one of your proteges. I don't know if that's something you want in your head, but what was a young Pat Anger like in high school when you started coaching him?
So Pat's as crazy as he is. I mean, still, he was just 1,000 times worse when he was a little kid, or a young guy. So I first met Pat when he was going into his junior year at Bettendorf High School. So I came back and I was trying to get hired on staff. Coach Wiley was trying to talking Coach Scott into hiring me, which was a hard sell because I was an idiot all through high school. So that was hard convincing. But I first watched Pat at a workout, and he just runs so fast for how big he is. Like, it was so immediate, off the charts, rare. So I had just left Iowa where we had some pretty good teams and some pretty good players with guys that would go on to play 10 years and become Pro Bowlers and stuff like that. So I was like fresh in my mind what really good football individuals looks like. And I watched Pat go through one workout, and I told Wiley and Frecking, Coach Wiley and Coach Frecking over at Bettendorf, I was like, that guy's going to play major college football. Like, he's just huge and can run, and boy, he was. I'd played football in high school with Pat's older brother, Chris. Chris was 2 grades older than me. He was our starting right guard. Unbelievable player, great dude. Still talk to Chris to this day. He's awesome. So I think when I started talking to Pat, me having a prior relationship with his brother, I think had already helped a little bit trying to get him to listen to me. But what Pat, he's just one of the most competitive human beings I've ever met. Like, I'm convinced that anybody who's truly elite at something is at least minimum 10% total weirdo. So Pat has got to be 30, 50%, whatever he is. That shows you how good he is. But he was as competitive against himself as he was against other people. And he was like that all of the time with everything. I mean, if we had Pat play tailback, he would have ran for 2,000 yards and been the player of the year in the state at running back. And it was just because he was, I don't know. He probably could just run fast because he was probably just a crazy lunatic competing all the time when he was little. And I remember going over to Coach Wiley, and I was like, hey, that guy's going to play major college football. And he was like, no way. He's like, that guy was stuffing kids in mail carts earlier today and running by my classroom at 40 miles an hour, pushing kids down the stairs. So Pat was a menace to society and everybody when he was young, but boy, could he compete.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Matt Drinkall joined us here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach, you look at your ascension up and what you did at Kansas Wesleyan, and then you go to Army, and obviously Army does what they do offensively. But when you go back, I remember your glory years with Todd Sturdy here and flinging the ball all over the place in the offense. What will it look like at Central Michigan? You've had your hands in everything, and you've developed so much, and you can take from different places. What do you want to do, especially offensively, up at Central Michigan?
So it's a great question. I get that one a lot. So I'm not going to coach the offense very much. I'm not going to be involved in that at all. I hired really good staffing to do that, but with some parameters. So at Central Michigan, I believe at every school there are if you do a SWOT analysis, there's strengths and weaknesses to every program and institution in every kind of variable you could think of. So I think the way we're going to win at Central Michigan is very similar to a place like a Boise State or a North Dakota State or a Kansas State, Iowa State, even West Point to a degree, where you're a little bit geographically isolated, but in a good way, where you're kind of away at school, but there's a certain type of kid you're going to be able to recruit, and we want to crush the Midwest in recruiting. Like, if we can sign the whole class from Michigan and the Midwest, that will be done. That'll be it. So we want to, in the era of 7-on-7 football, and everybody's a me, and post selfies, and all they worry about is TikTok and all that, I'm recruiting guys who want nothing to do with that shit. And I'm sure there's a nicer way to say it. I want guys that love football. I want guys that want to compete and love lifting weights and love watching film and love practicing. I'm going to collect a team full of those dudes that are tough, elite, good people, and we'll figure out how to win some games with that. But I'm telling you on offense, we will look a pro style offense that has college wrinkles to it. So probably a little bit more will huddle. It'll be physical inside run game, like physical inside and off tackle run game, inside zone, outside zone, duo, power. We will live running that stuff because that's who we are. So that's how I know how to teach it. That's how I know how to coach it. And everybody else with, like I said, kind of going the new fastest way. We're going to go a little bit more old school and take things back a little bit and get back to basics. So we'll probably look like, if you watch what Dan Campbell does in Detroit, we're going to try to do a lot of that same stuff here.
That's awesome. And I'm a big Lions fan. And so that works. You can see the helmet on the desk. So I appreciate, and that's the thing, is because Dan, you look at that offense and scores a ton of points, but it's all predicated around those boys up front and running the football. And people kind of get caught up in numbers and trick plays and fanciness. And at the end of the day, they run the football and they're mean, they're tough, and they're more physical than everyone else. Hey, Coach, when I looked at your staff, and I kind of knew this, but you're making me feel old because Derek Fulton is on your staff as the co-offensive coordinator and tight end coach. I swear he just left Assumption like 3 years ago. I covered him, and now he's on your staff and doing good things there. I know he went to Grandview, played there, did fantastic stuff there, coaching there. He's also an Assumption guy. I don't know if you know this, but he's an Assumption guy. Is that okay for Bettendorf and Assumption to get along at that level? And then talk about having that local connection. How cool is it for the Quad Cities, not just to have a head football coach at Central Michigan from our area, but to have an offensive coordinator and tight end coach from there as well?
So I got a lot of things to say about the old Davenport Assumption Knights. So, yeah, when I was playing at Bettendorf, that was when the MAC conference existed, and Bettendorf and Assumption were gigantic rivals. I mean, gigantic. So I actually, in fact, I believe Joe Conklin's last game of college, or last high school game, was a 31-7 defeat at the hands of the Bettendorf Bulldogs at Tuvel Stadium in the playoffs, and Pat Anger, I think, tackled him about 950 times in that game. So, so Derek, he's an Assumption grad, a Bettendorf guy. Grew up in the city of Bettendorf, but an Assumption grad, and then played at Grandview. So I had recruited him out of high school when I was at Ambrose, and he wanted to get out of town and away from home. So he went to Grandview and won a national title as their starting quarterback. So then I got hired at Kansas Wesleyan, and I tried to hire him as a GA, and he took a GA at a D2 job instead, and then got done with there and went to Grandview and then killed it there. So he was the OC for 5 years there. They did not lose a regular season game. And this past year, he just went undefeated and won the national championship. So he's as smart and as good can get. So when I called his ass, I said, listen, you're coming to Central Michigan with me. I'm not going 0 for 3 in recruiting you. So you're coming whether you want to or not. So he is every bit as good as I thought he would be. He's 10,000 times better, man. He is smart. He is borderline unhealthy, obsessed with football. So he's been great. And then another almost local guy is Chris Doyle, the old strength coach at Iowa. Yeah. His son Dylan Doyle is on staff now as one of our assistants as well. So
and to give that guy an opportunity and obviously someone who went through it at Iowa and no faults of his own and everything you hear about Dylan Doyle is he's a great dude. And he comes from a really good family with a guy that knows a lot about the sport and football. Talk about that connection and what made you say, absolutely, this is a guy I want on my staff.
Well, so I've shared this with him privately, and I'll say it now. I mean, so I had a chance to visit with him at length. I'd followed his career all the Doyles very, very closely. Coach, I obviously respect Coach Doyle a great deal, and we stayed in touch, but it's not like we're best friends or anything like that. So I had a chance at the coaches convention to meet up with Dylan and have a chance to visit, and then we had some staffing changes, obviously. So I told Dylan, I said, "Do you know why I hired you?" And he said, no. And I said, it has nothing to do with your dad. I could care less who your dad is. I respect your dad, and it's great. He's awesome, but I could care less. I said, I watched how he handled himself and how he handled his business during a bunch of adversity publicly, where me at 42 right now, I could not have handled that with any grace or dignity or patience at all. Yeah. And for him, 20 years old to navigate that and handle all of that like a true professional and a man, I knew everything I needed to know about Dylan Doyle right then and there. And that's the kind of guy I want surrounded I want our players surrounded by great men like that can handle tough situations. That's why I don't care. I could care less who his dad is.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic answer. A couple more local connections on the staff real quick, Coach, because Wes Fleming is an SAU guy as well. So he's an Ambrose guy that's up there. And then on the field itself, and I talked to him, gosh, he was on maybe the first or second week I did this thing. And I can't say enough good things about Rusty Van Wetzinga, both the old man coaching at Pleasant Valley and then obviously Rusty in your program right now. And he was so excited. He had just committed to you and to come up there. He was so excited to get up there. So your thoughts on, and again, here we go. We're Bettendorf PV. You guys aren't supposed to be playing nice and you're up there playing nice. But he talked on the interview about Old Chicago. You referenced Old Chicago. You referenced it was such a home feel because he knows where they're from. Man. Yeah, sports fans. That's where it was. Sports fans. I'm sorry.
Trivia night down at Sports Fans.
Yes.
That's good.
Hey, right there. Neither one of those establishments are sponsors of the show. Either one of them could be sponsors of the show if they are listening and want to be. But just your thoughts on little Rusty going up there. I loved what he did at Iowa. I loved the way he handled himself throughout the transition of moving and getting in the portal. And you're getting yourself you talked about the players you want in your system, in your program. He's kind of a definition of it, isn't he?
Absolutely. So I'll start with Coach Fleming, he's an Ambrose grad. He played safety there. I think he's a 3-year starter, really good player. But I recruited him. So I've recruited Chicago for 20 years. So the first time I ever met Wes Fleming was in Marion Catholic's high school cafeteria to recruit him. He came and played at Ambrose, and then I left to take the head job at Kansas Wesleyan, and I hired him there. And then right when I was leaving out to Army, we got him hired as the OC at Midland, where Eric Crouch, former Heisman Trophy winner, was his running back coach. And then we got him hired out at Army. And then Eric Chenander, who was a former Iowa Hawkeye, he was the DC at Nebraska. So then Wes got hired over at Nebraska, and then was at Cincinnati with the guy I worked with at Army. And then as soon as I got this job, I think after my wife, he might have been the second guy I called to offer him the job and get him up here. So that's a guy I recruited in out of high school. That I now watched him buy a home and get married this summer. To me, piss winning on games and however much money, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's no one's going to remember 10 seconds afterwards, how many yards of offense you had, or that's important to me. So that was cool. And then Rusty, so long lineage with PV. So Ed Morrissey, the old head coach at Pleasant Valley before Rusty, his kid, Joe, was a GA for me at Kansas Wesleyan. And now he's in the private business world, killing it. And so then when Rusty did his student teaching when I was in 8th grade. So he was our Bettendorf middle school student teacher when I was coming through 8th grade. So now to get to recruit his kid, if you don't think that makes me feel old, aside from my hairline and waistline, I feel pretty old. So his kid, when you're getting Rusty Van Wetzinga's kid, you're getting a hammer. So getting a chance to know him, he's everything we wanted. He doesn't care about anything other than doing what the team needs, helping his teammates, and just trying to be violent all the time. If we had 1,000 of him, I'd feel way better off and sleeping at night pretty easy. So he's a great kid. Again, you know the kind of product you're getting with him. So Coach Fulton will continue to recruit Iowa for us, and we'd like to. The state of Iowa, I think, is going to be pretty interesting now because they're going to cap these rosters at 105. So the days of just people, Iowa and Iowa State telling every kid in the state, hey, you can come walk on here and play here or whatever, that's not going to happen. There's going to be some really, really good football players from the state of Iowa that are going to have to leave the state to go play Division I football. And hopefully they start coming up north.
Absolutely. Matt Drinkall, the head coach of Central Michigan, joining us right now. I appreciate you doing this, and I got a couple more for you because I could do this all afternoon, so I got to be careful.
Same here.
I know you got a job to do. But you look at being back home. Do you get to get back here? Do you come back to the Quad Cities? Do you get to sports fans and all those places? And how often and how important is this area still to what you do? Because everybody I know that knows you knows how proud this area is of you and vice versa. You're proud of being from the Quad Cities.
Yeah, I take a great deal of pride in it. I think Truman said, it was Truman or Eisenhower. He said, Iowa can live without the United States, but the United States cannot live without Iowa. And I pretty much believe that. And even parts of Western Illinois, I guess. But I love it, man. Like, it's unbelievable people. It's awesome food. There's stuff to do. It's one of those things that when you grow up there, you kind of bitch and moan about everything, and then you leave and you realize everywhere else might not be as awesome as I thought.
Yeah.
And you come back there and it's awesome people. It's safe. It's clean. There's a ton to do. And it's just, I'm really lucky because I was at no point in time in my life should I have ever had remotely any success whatsoever. I just grew up in an area where there was literally a community of people invested in other people. You know what I mean? From high school, like football coaches, track coaches, activities, friends, family. Like I've restaurants, places you go. Like when I go back, I'm hitting up Happy Joe's, getting Canadian bacon sauerkraut. I'm going to Hungry Hobo, getting a number 3, maybe a baked potato as well, piece of chocolate cake. I skip Portillo's all the time because I do China Cafe on 53rd Street, Los Agaves for the quesadillas. I mean, I got it planned out pretty good when I get back. Poncheros I get whenever I hit Iowa City or over. They actually have one in East Lansing, an hour south of us, so I'll drive to that. But, you know, like, it's a big deal to me. I went back for the Iowa Coaches Clinic. I go back, like Vince Phillip, who's the head coach at St. Ambrose right now. He's one of my closest friends on planet Earth. I coached him when he was at Ambrose. I hired him. He was my defensive coordinator for several years at Kansas Wesleyan until he went back to Ambrose. So getting a chance to come back, hang out with Joe Conklin, hang out with Pat, hang out with all the Bettendorf coaches and see Rusty. I mean, it's just really good people that I don't know, man. I've been to everywhere. And when we were at West Point, in the last 5 years, I've been to 48 states. And I have never found anything quite like the people in the Quad Cities, man. There's something special about it. That whole place is really, really nice.
I love it. And you named a couple sponsors during your list of people. So I appreciate you doing that because you're helping me out as well. 2 more for you. You have played, or not played, but coached in that Army-Navy game. And I know it's cliche and everybody's supposed to say it, but I love that game. I watch that game every single year. It's appointment TV. It's such a great atmosphere. What is that like? What is it like being on that field, being in that stadium? Is it what I think it is? When it comes to electricity, atmosphere, everything that's right about football and America and all that good stuff?
100 times better. Now, I'm excited to go back, not having to coach in it with the pressure of winning that thing. Yeah, there's some, I can talk about it now without having to worry about Coach Munkin getting mad at me about sharing information or my thoughts. So there are 2 sporting events that I have been to that regardless of whether or not a person likes sports, you have to go. One is the Indy 500, which I went to with Pat when he played with the Colts. That's one of the wildest scenes. I don't know anything about cars, but I can't believe there's humans in those. And we probably drank enough that weekend. This is 15 years ago. So we had a good time. And then the Army-Navy game. The Army-Navy game is like an event. The whole thing is an event that has a football game at it. Like, that's the best way I can explain it. And I thought when I got there, it was like Army and Navy hate each other, and that's the big rivalry, and they want to do it. And that's not really it. Super incredible, prestigious people. Hard work, like people that are bound and determined very seriously about being successful. That's who goes to and plays football at Army and Navy. Okay. Those guys, when you get into that arena, when you're you're playing that game in front of the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff and all these celebrities and all the Barstool guys, and 13 million people are watching you at home. You just want to win so badly so you can say for the next 364 years, like, we're the top. You have bragging rights, kind of. Yeah. So, and it was, that game is such you make it so deeply invested and personal, and like you see the part that's it hits different than any other game where it's like winning. It's almost like a relief, not like an excitement, because losing it, sucks worse than any feeling I've ever felt my whole life. Because the reason is it's whatever for the coaches. You just understand how much these players and kids invest in that game to win it, and everything that they're doing with every second of their day, that I mean, it's an experience. I'm like, so you want them to win so bad, you're going to like cry or puke because you want them to feel successful and feel that success. So it's easy for me who's never been at like I didn't go to West Point. I've never been in the military. I've never had to play in that game. It's easy for me to sit back now and say like, well, winning or losing that game doesn't really define success, but that's not how those people are wired.
Yeah.
Those people are like, success for me determines success and how I see it. You know what I mean? Like they're a different breed of people. They're like how Pat is. Pat's hey, you ran 10.84 in the 100. You're ranked number 1 in the state. Where those guys and Pat, guys like that are wired like that. We're like, well, I could have ran 10.81 instead of 10.84. I can't believe it. And then they're just consumed by it. So the game is awesome. The only part about it that stinks is it's always in the Northeast, so it's always really cold.
Yeah.
But you know what? That game should be in the cold. Now, here's one inside info for the game that people don't know.
Love it.
So nowadays with TV copies of games and the staff's getting so big, like the two academies know everything about there is to know about each other. So like you're watching games, you're watching feeds on Twitter of like, hey, did somebody film a game that I could maybe hear what a cadence was or hear what the play call might be named? Or well, everybody, you get the whole season to figure all that stuff out. So by the time you play each other, if you just use your regular offense and defense and your regular cadence, the other teams know it better than you know it. So in that game, you really need to make it is a really, really like high level chess match of like, how much can I change where it gives me an advantage, but it's not a disadvantage because it's not really who we are. But at the same time, does it give us a shot to win and open things up? So it's not it's a very, very complicated and complex game to manage from a coaching standpoint. But it's the only game it's not really like that you coach in that's less fun, and it is more result oriented. But it should be. I mean, that's how Jeff Monken does stuff. How the hell else do you want it? You want to go there and just get a bunch of try-hard pats on the back? That isn't what he's about. That's not what those guys are about. You go to win. So I heard General McConville said one of the coolest things I ever heard in my whole life. He said it in the locker room after the game. And he's just like, he came in. I don't want to butcher this. Give me a sec. He came in and he said, it pays to be a winner. When we send the Army somewhere, we don't play to compete or participate. We go to win, and winning matters. And that was it. And I was just like, damn, what a concise like, we don't send the United States Army somewhere for a participation ribbon. We send them there to win. We're soldiers. We fight where we're told, and we win where we fight. So those guys are, I mean, like, I'm getting all goosebumps.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say.
Damn, dude, like those guys, that's a cool deal. And here's the thing. They're just regular dudes. Like they're just like Pat. If Pat Anger would have been admitted to West Point, he would have crushed it there. It's just that's kind of how he's wired.
Yeah.
But
no,
I saw his high school transcript. I saw his high school transcript. Pat wasn't getting into West Point.
I need that high school transcript. When I get done with this, I'm going to send you. I should have sent it beforehand. We could have talked about it, but there's a little video that Pat did for his bank that I need to send you. That's besides the point. Before I let you go, we started with Central Michigan. I want to finish with Central Michigan. I know it's cliche. It's a bad media question. Like, what are the goals for your team this year? And so I hate to end that way, but what do you want to do in year one? What are the realistic things that you want to do at Central Michigan as you prepare for your first year as a Division I head coach?
Man, I don't know. Like I don't have like a great part of this question. You know what I mean? Like part of the reason I suck at interviews is because when if people are like, wow, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? Like, I don't know. Like, I just want to be happy and be around good people doing something I believe in. Like here, I'm just taking it way more day by day. And I've really become much more process oriented. Like to me, success at this point in my life, it is not about winning X amount of games or making a certain amount of money or going to bowl game. It isn't. It's about seeing our kids, our players in our program, and the people like grow and get better, and the people that consume our product have a really good experience with that. And I think that there's just, I don't know, just I've gotten so sick of like the not sick, but like, because I get it, all the pieces with technology and players getting paid, like they should get paid some like They're players. Like, they should get paid to do this. But how it's all been handled and done over the last 10 years with the structure of college football, I don't think is good. And I don't think it's good for football. I don't think it's good for people. So I am finally at a point where I get to do it the way I want, how I want. And if it sucks, all right. If it doesn't work, I should say, I get fired for it. But I'm going to do it in a way where I know our players are the people that are involved with our program. It is producing better people that go into the world. These guys are going to have the skill set that, like, when adversity punches them in the face or hits them in the back of the head with a baseball bat, they're going to be able to pick up the pieces, troubleshoot, work as a team, be mentally tough, overcome it, and be just fine and thrive in those situations. And I think if we, like, so every day that we're working, we're trying to do, like, those habits and those behaviors, whatever those are, reinforce those. And when those habits and behaviors are come together, we acknowledge those, spotlight those, reward them like crazy, because I think we will win games as a result of having a whole bunch of team of dudes that are wired like that. I don't really know another way to do it. I don't really want to do it another way. So that's how I'm going to do it. So the start of our schedule, we're at San Jose State, at Pitt, at Michigan. I found that out after I took the job. So I was like, what's the matter? You guys couldn't get the 49ers on the schedule?
Yeah, well, we're not going to Ford Field. We're not going to play the Lions. Might as well toss them on too.
Let's go scrimmage the Lions right before Michigan while we're at it.
I love it.
You know what I mean? It's just, but our kids are doing a great job. Like, I thought the thing I have done the worst job since I got this job is I had misconceptions about young people that were wrong. Like, when I got here, I thought it was going to be me guys. And dude, I am telling you, this young generation of kids that have, like, grown up, like you and me, we're the problem, because we spent part of our lives not online and part of them on, and we silo the two and we get blended together. Well, these kids now, dude, that are coming up in college, like, they spent their whole lives with a cell phone and online. They're over it. They're smarter than we were. They're more worldly than we were. They've been exposed to more traumatic and weird stuff, so they're a lot tougher in a lot of ways than we were. Like, you and me, when we were in high school, your girlfriend dumps you, out of sight, out of mind. We never had to see him again. Piece of cake. Dude, now your girlfriend dumps you. You know who she's dating 7 minutes later, and you got to watch it and see it and can't get away from it. Even if you block her, 50 other people are sending it to you. Like, kids got to deal with tough stuff now that, I don't know if Conklin would have survived it back in. He was getting dumped by girls left and right. Probably.
Oh, I love it.
Don't tell Allie or something.
Well, that's the thing, is because now I always say, and I say tell Pat this too, and you're closer to my age than Pat. I'm 45, you're 42. If cell phones existed, if these things existed when I was in high school and college, I don't know what you wouldn't be the Central Michigan football coach. I wouldn't have been on WQAD. It's amazing how everything is documented with video these days. And I did some stupid things, and I just say to myself, thank God these things weren't around when I was in college, because St. Ambrose wouldn't have been the same.
Well, all of it. I mean, a joke you made 5 years ago isn't funny today. You know what I mean? Like, everything's in bad taste as it ages, and it's just very, very difficult. So for these kids to, like, overcome and navigate all that from 12 to 16 to 20, I mean, just think how different your life is in those 4-year chunks. It's insane. So, that part's been neat. And the other part that I will say, all joking aside, with the guy who has been a huge help to me over the last couple of years is Joe Conklin. So at West Point, no NIL, no portal. So I talk to Joe probably if it's not once a week, it's probably once every 2 weeks. So for him to be dealing with all this high level stuff at Iowa, I've leaned really, really heavy on him because he is really smart. Not a whole lot to look at, but very, very smart guy. But just, he gives incredible insight as far as what he thinks is happening in the marketplace. To me, as a personal friend, you know what I mean? Not really like from a University of Iowa standpoint, but to give me some advice and to lean heavy on him of, hey, Joe, what do you think about this or that? And it's been really nice. Like, all of us guys that were coaching in high school, Bettendorf Assumption games and Bettendorf PV games, and now a couple of years later, and these guys are, like, at the University of Iowa and playing for the Colts, and we're coaching at Central Michigan, going into the Big House next year. Like, it's just kind of, it's cool to see all this unfold a little bit.
No, absolutely. I'll tell you this before I let you go too. I started a golf outing for my dad. He passed away 13 years ago. So for 11 years, I've done a memorial golf outing. And every year it's me, Pat, Joe, and we've had Jake Gervais step in. We've had Ryan Fick. God bless us. Ryan Fick was with us last year. Boy, if it wasn't June 14th, I mean, we'd recruit you. We have an opening, but I have a feeling in the middle of June, you're probably a little too busy to get back down to the Quad Cities, but I think you would fit in nicely to the day that we do in June. It's a lot of fun. They're just good people. If you know what I mean, Matt, they're just good, down to earth people that you can let your hair down if we had any left and have fun with. And they're just good people. So, Coach, I've appreciated this. I could keep doing this all afternoon. I got to go take care of your kids. You got to go be a head coach at a Division I college. Super proud of you. Awesome to get to know you a little more today, and we'll talk here real soon. I'll leave the questions that Anger texted me. I'll leave those till afterwards. I won't ask you those on TV. You'll get in trouble.
We'll get to those at the golf outing and get some of those around when we're off the record, I guess, would probably be a good place to start. But, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
I love it. That is Matt Drinkall, Bettendorf grad, head coach at Central Michigan. We wish him the best of luck. Well, we're just getting warmed up here on a Thursday on Off the Air. We'll be back right after this. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. March Madness officially beginning, in my opinion, in about an hour or so, because it is my real round one of the NCAA tournament, joined now by our Illini expert, Jim Mattson. And Jim, I say that, and I think you probably kind of agree. Everyone's like, oh, March Madness started on Tuesday, or when you fill out your brackets, the first four in. For me, this is the start of March Madness. The Thursday, 11:15, 11:20, everything kicks off. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I agree 100%. I think the madness is what's going on in this channel, what's going on in this game, what's going on in this game. And, the first four have kind of become cute and kind of fun. And I like the fact that Dayton's kind of embraced them. But today's the madness when, hey, are you seeing what's going on at that regional? There's 4 games going on at once. There's a close one. There's an upset. I think today through Sunday, I think 64-16 are the 4 best days of the year. It's just we're going to see something crazier. We're going to see upsets. We're going to see buzzer beaters. And to me, today's the first day. I mean, how many of your buddies? You don't work anymore, I know. But how many of your buddies take today off and tomorrow off? A lot of my buddies don't go to work today because today is madness. Today's fun.
Yeah, I have actually, full disclosure, I have 3 or 4 coming over this afternoon, and this show is going to be done around 11:20. I'm going to take this one off a little early. I got a TV. I got 5 TVs in the basement ready to rock and roll, Jim. You're heading to Milwaukee. I guess the big thing with Illinois right now is they know who they play. I watched the game last night, Texas and Xavier, a good basketball game, up and down, good pace. Yeah. They get Xavier on Friday evening. What did you see last night from Illinois' now opponent? And it was kind of fun to sit and watch last night and think, okay, the winner of this team or this game gets Illinois. Your thoughts on their opponent coming up on Friday?
I thought Xavier was kind of a team that wins NCAA tournament games. They were determined. They were pretty skilled, but I thought they were well coached. I thought they were better. Texas got rid of their coach after the game. I thought Texas was more talented. But I thought that Xavier kind of stuck the course and played 40 minutes and made some shots and ran some offense. And, I think they were the better team and the team that will, Illinois size is going to be a problem for Xavier. The talent on Texas may have been a problem. I don't think there's a lot of difference from who Illinois plays. But, Xavier's a good team, certainly capable of beating Illinois. I think the point spread's like 3 points or 3.5 points. Illinois is a slight favorite. That sounds about right. I was impressed with Xavier.
Jim, you mentioned coaching, and I agree. And I think that's at this time of year, I get getting hot and all that kind of stuff and the craziness, but I think coaching is so paramount right now. And I thought, Sean Miller did a great job last night being the better coach. I think Illinois has an advantage as they go into the NCAA tournament because Brad Underwood's been there. He's done it. He's gotten teams to Sweet 16s and Elite 8s and all that kind of stuff. Talk about that factor or that aspect of it because I saw it firsthand last night. Maybe Texas had more talent if it comes to 4-star, 5-star kids, but I thought they were better coached. Xavier was. Talk about coaching this time of year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think coaching is really, really important. But I also think experience is important. You look at the Illinois teams that have gone far. They've had juniors and seniors. And I think the vibe of the tournament is different. The feel is different. I hope the young kids for Illinois can step up to that. But I think Underwood can get them to that point. But, we asked Boswell the other day, Sunday on Selection Sunday, I asked Boswell, what do you tell the young kids? And, he said, Boswell, having played with Arizona in the tournament, is Boswell, Trey White, Drake Gibbs Lawhorn, the only Illinois players who have been in the tournament. And Boswell said, you treat it like any other day, but you understand that, you can't come out flat. This is it. You got to come out ready. And then one of the other reporters followed up, what were you like your first tournament game? And I think his comment was he was nervous as heck and ready to throw up. It is a different feel. It is a different vibe. And I'll be curious how all the young Illini, I don't know if he can coach that, is I guess what I'm saying. I don't know if Underwood can coach that out of those guys. They might have a period where, they're not ready and they haven't reacted well when they've fallen behind in games. Duke buried them, Maryland buried them. They've had trouble when they fall behind early. So I hope they're ready to go. I think Underwood knows how to get them there. But at some point, they got to start swimming.
Jim, it was a different Selection Sunday because, as we just mentioned, they didn't know who they were going to play. Usually you watch and you see and you're like, okay, I'm going to scramble and find out everything I need to know about whatever team it is. They had to wait a little bit. But besides that little aspect, when the pairings came out, as an Illini fan, you had to be encouraged or excited because you're close. Milwaukee's great. We talked about it last week when you were on here. Milwaukee would be outstanding. And then you look at a second round matchup. I know a lot of people jump to that second round and they forget about the first round. But there's a Kentucky team that it's Kentucky. I get it. Tons of talent. But they're banged up. What were your thoughts when you saw the pairings come on the screen and Illinois got the location they got, the draw they got going forward?
Oh, I'm the same way. I thought it was darn near perfect. I mean, there's not a real in-your-face defensive team, whether it be Xavier, Texas, or Kentucky, like you said, in their path in Milwaukee. You know, Milwaukee's ideal for Illinois fans. I mean, how many Illinois fans are within an hour and a half of Milwaukee in the Chicagoland? So I assume we're going to have a lot of Kentucky fans. I assume a lot of Iowa State fans, but I would think Illinois might have the majority or at least the most fans there. So I thought the bracket was terrific for Illinois. You know, it's kind of what we said all year, though. There's only about 4 or 5 teams that, as an Illinois fan or as an Iowa State fan, that you're like, wow, you know, I don't want Duke, I don't want Houston, I don't want Florida. Outside of those teams, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seeds, I mean, Illinois has enough talent to beat all of them. They beat them. They've played them during the regular season. They beat them. Now they haven't been good at, you know, putting 2, 3, 4 wins together, which is obviously 2 wins to the Sweet 16, 4 wins to the Final Four, 6 wins to win it all. We'll see if they can do that night in and night out. But there's nobody in their path, and the location is great. Somebody was looking out for Illinois on Selection Sunday.
Jim, we're doing a bracket challenge here on the show, and that's a cheap plug. If you haven't done it, you got about 45 minutes to go do it. But and I went and sat down to do mine last night, and I'm not kidding. I clicked, and it's a CBS Sports stuff, and I clicked, and I got Illinois to my Elite Eight. And then at one point, I kind of redid some stuff, revisited, and I'm like, I can see Illinois, I can see Xavier winning. It's really, and we've talked about it this year with them being Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You can see them going to the Elite Eight, and you can see them shooting 3 of 25 from 3 on Friday night and going home early. How do you trust this team? Do fans trust this team? Does the media? What are your thoughts as you get ready to go to Milwaukee? Is it sight unseen, waiting to see what happens when they get there?
Yeah, I probably have as less a feeling about this team as I've had in a long time. I very easily think Illinois can be coming home Friday night. I mean, Xavier's a very good team. Like I said, Illinois is about a 3-point favorite. It's almost a 50-50 game. But by the same token, Illinois is one of the most talented teams in the country. They are one of the tallest teams in the country. They can certainly throw matchup problems at teams. If it's all about matchups in a tournament, Illinois is not a team that a lot of teams are going to look at and say, boy, we match up well size-wise, or, Ivisic can bring your big out, Merez can pound the glass. They have very tall guards. I think Illinois, I could easily see Illinois in the Elite Eight too. Now, when I fill out a bracket, I'm kind of like you. I'm always like, I don't want my Final Four team to potentially have any chance of losing in round 1. So I'm scared. I have Illinois to the Sweet 16, but I'm scared to have them much farther because they could easily lose to Xavier. I mean, they're going to have to play a really good game to beat Xavier because I think Xavier is going to play well.
You mentioned the height of Illinois, and we haven't talked since they knocked off Iowa last Thursday, so a week ago today. And Merez is back, and boy, what a difference he makes. They killed Iowa on the boards, and Iowa struggles in that. But for most teams, they're going to have that advantage. What does that guy bring? And we've talked about him throughout the year being that it guy, that guy that brings energy, all those kind of stuff, the intangibles of Merez Johnson. What have you seen from him since he's been back, and how important is it having him moving forward?
Oh, I think Merez, we have talked about it. I think he brings a physical, kind of a emotional leader, but just size-wise, I mean, he cleans up. He gets you, if you miss a shot and he puts it in, you didn't really miss a shot. You scored in that possession. He's one of those guys, he cleans up. He embraces his role as a rebounder. He's improved as an offensive player, but he's basically a guy who steals the extra possessions, steals the extra baskets, blocks some shots. He does a lot of those things that make him very unique and I think he makes Ivisic more of a weapon because now you have an interior presence and a 7-footer that can stretch outside. So I think that he is kind of the missing piece that makes Illinois really flexible, really versatile, and really big. And, he might only be 6'9", but he's the biggest guy in Illinois. I mean, he plays bigger than anyone. So he makes an Illinois team that's probably a finesse team into a much more of a physical, big team in a tough matchup.
Jim Mattson joining us right now on OTA. Jim, one thing I loved about going to the NCAA tournament was, yes, covering the team I was covering, but then also looking at that bracket and the pods and being like, oh, cool, we're going to get to see this team or this coach or this game. Have you looked ahead yet? You're heading to Milwaukee right after you get done with my goofy self. What have you looked at? Have you seen anything and said, I'm intrigued to see these guys or this team or how this team's been playing?
Well, Illinois traveled with Iowa State last year, and I really like TJ and Iowa State's offense and their skill level. And we'll miss seeing Gilbert, but I like Iowa State a lot. I actually like Mark Pope, the story of Pope coming back to Kentucky. I think it's fascinating. So I'm curious about Pope in Kentucky, and Big Blue Nation is probably the most rabid fans in the country. So I'm always curious when we run into Kentucky, but. I really do enjoy Iowa State, and I don't know how Iowa State got TJ. I don't know how TJ gets all those Wisconsin kids, but whatever he's doing, boy, Iowa State's got it going really well now. So I just really think that's a program to admire.
Yeah, and you meant TJ's from Wisconsin, so I think the home state stuff probably helps out a little bit as well as they move forward.
Sure, oh, absolutely.
Jim, it's funny because my wife came home the other day and she's like, "How's the show been going?" And I'm like, our views, it's really good. We're doing great. And I'm like, good. Even this week. And she's like, what is it? And I'm like, well, it's not me. It's not my haircut or anything like that. I think the show's taking good footing and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's all of this, but coaching searches help. And that's what we've talked a lot this week and anything. And you've done radio and in the TV business as well. Yeah. Sometimes the worst stuff or teams going through a coaching search or firing their coach is more brings more attention than a team winning sometimes. So Iowa's going through that coaching search and Illinois-Iowa play on Thursday. Fran gets fired on Friday. Of course, it's an hour after my show gets done, so I don't appreciate that. But your thoughts on that coaching search? They took a swing and a miss at Darren DeVries. It probably Ben McCullum or bust. I mean, not bust. They'll find somebody. But your thoughts on Iowa and the job, because it's pretty clear out there that we've talked about it. NIL runs everything, and Darren DeVries, the home state guy, chose a historic program, obviously, but a place that just simply had more money. Your thoughts on the Iowa opening?
Well, first of all, I'm amazed at Iowa. Somebody would have to do the research, but has there been a more stable football coach? I know Bluter leaves, but they hire from within. The women's basketball, Fran for 15 years, the wrestling program. I mean, you folks in Iowa don't search for coaches very often. I mean, it's kind of rare to have a coaching search. I mean, it's here in Illinois with the Bears and with the Illinois football and basketball revolving door, we're searching for coaches all the time. But I have always thought Iowa was a great job. It's obviously a Big Ten job, but can you win there? Can they? I think coaches are being much more savvy about where are you with NIL? How much support will I get? And I do think that's going to maybe hold back Iowa. But boy, if I'm a young coach in the Missouri Valley Conference, I mean, our coach at Bradley, Brian Worrell's been mentioned a little bit. I talked to Brian last night a little bit about the Iowa job, and he's all in with Bradley and the NIT. But Brian's had 10 years of success in the Valley. He'd be crazy not to consider an Iowa job. It's a Big Ten job. It's just a completely different playing field. But are they, even in the Big Ten, there's different jobs, like you said. The Indiana NIL money is endless. So I think Iowa has to prove that they're going to compete with every school in the Big Ten to get the elite coaches. But I still think there's, a guy like TJ. I still think there's a lot of young coaches who would TJ years ago before the Iowa State job, who would just love to come to Iowa. I just think it's a Big Ten job with a historic fan base and a lot of history. So I still think it's a very, very good job. Is it an elite Big Ten job? No. Is it a Big Ten job? Yes. And that makes it an awfully good job.
Yeah, and you look at the result of, and I think I got kids who are Iowa fans that are like, Dad, everybody's leaving. And of course we know Brock and Owen well. Yeah. And they're like, they're in there. And then Price and Josh Sticks, who's been tied to Illinois as a guy that might go down to Illinois. And it's a funky, weird time, but everybody jumps into that portal. That's just what happens. West Virginia last year when Darren DeVries went out there, they basically had two guys and they had to build a roster. So with that being said, one of the guys that got into the portal at Iowa is a guy that I got to see in high school a little bit. You got to see a lot, and really good basketball player, battled injuries this year, probably will get a redshirt year, but Cooper Koch played just 10 games for the University of Iowa, can probably have 4 years available. He goes in the portal. Obviously, J.R. Koch's dad played at Iowa, a big Iowa family, but it's a super talented young man. Can you talk about Cooper for the Iowa fans that didn't get to see him play a lot, what kind of player he is, and then your thoughts on him getting into the portal? Because, yes, the tide of the Iowa is there, but, man, money's out there. Good opportunities are going to be out there as well. He's going to be a sought-after young man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I covered Cooper's dad in high school. So I covered JR in high school. I remember when he went to Iowa, and I was like, Iowa? And he loved Iowa. And Cooper's always grown up kind of going to the Iowa basketball camps and, got pictures of himself 10 years ago with Fran. And so part of me is a little heartbroken because, a kid dreams of going to Iowa, goes to Iowa, has a rough year medically off the court. And now the coach leaves. Will he still be an Iowa Hawkeye? You hate that part of it. I mean, if the kid dreamed of being at Iowa, I would love to see him stay at Iowa. And hopefully, if the new coach comes in, it can convince some of these guys to stay. Maybe Cooper can continue that dream. But Cooper's a very skilled player. I mean, we saw Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern. Everybody in the Big Ten was in the Peoria Notre Dame gym and the Metamora gym to see Cooper. He's the modern big. He can shoot the three. He's a great passer. I think he's a Big Ten starter for multiple years. I mean, I think wherever he goes, if it's Iowa or anywhere else, I think he's going to be a really, really good player with just a tremendous shooter. I mean, his dad, I always said, if his dad was 6 foot tall, his dad would have been a great player. His dad was 6'10", but his dad was that good a shooter. And Cooper's the same way. Cooper can flat out shoot it and is a really, really good passer and high IQ. And I think every coach in the Big Ten would want Cooper Koch.
All right, Jim, before I let you go, 2 more questions. One, it's weird to me to watch Will Wade say, hey, I'm going to take this North Carolina State job before the fact. And you listen to the Darren DeVries stuff. And basically that was a done deal before the end of the season. They had been talking for a while. How weird is all this? I know we're trying to figure it out player-wise and hearing like in the middle of the season that like players are being interested to go to different places. And now you have it coaches wise too. We have to start getting some type of regulations with college sports, don't we? I mean, I'm not saying that we haven't taken a good step paying players, and I'm not that old school guy, but there's got to be some regulations with what's going on. How are you, McNeese State, this next couple of days, knowing that your coach is 1 foot out the door? How are you showing up and caring about playing? It's weird.
It's very strange. I mean, I think there's 14 teams in the SEC in here. How many of those kids on the bottom half SEC teams already know they're going to transfer, and are they rowing the boat with the team as they go to the tournament, or are they ready to jump off the boat? And the same way with coaches. I mean, obviously when Indiana announces their coach is leaving, when there's a dark cloud over Fran all year, people know those jobs are going to open. I mean, we all kind of know it. And, the backwater channels of calling a coach and contacting agents, you like to think it's not going on, but certainly it is going on. And the Will Wade and the DeVries stories are, it is disruptive. Like, you go back to my comment about Cooper Koch. I mean, the kid dreams of coming to Iowa, dreams of playing for Fran, and a year into it, it's all derailed. And, I can't blame schools for firing coaches. I can't blame coaches for getting better jobs. I probably can't blame players for moving on to greener pastures with the emphasis on green. But I do think that something's got to be regulated. Something's got to be stabilized. But to be honest with you, man, I mean, coaches have been doing this forever. I mean, maybe not during the season, but coaches have always been cashing in and going to the next level. So I do think we're leveling the playing field a little bit, allowing the players to have some flexibility. But boy, the amount of flexibility is just crazy.
Yeah, and I will say this. I talked on the show yesterday. Brock Harding, people wonder where he's going, what he's doing, and there's those idiots out there that think he's going to go to a mid-major or go to the Ambrose and that kind of stuff. I can confirm, I know for a fact that he's got some really, really good opportunities, and we'll see what happens with that. But also I can confirm that he never wants to go through this again. Like, I've talked to people who told me that, like, he wants to find out, and I'm not just using Brock, I'm using him as an example. If anybody thinks that this is fun for the kids, They're crazy.
Yeah.
I've been told that like he wants to find a home for 2 years and never have to do this again. I think that's a point with a lot of cases that yes, kids are making money, but you just talked about Cooper as a great example. He had a dream to go to the University of Iowa. He's at the University of Iowa, and then all of a sudden his dream's all messed up. Think about that in the adult life. And we've dealt with it with our jobs with a TV station getting sold, and you're entrenched and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. You don't know what's going to happen next. So it's tough for adults to do. It's probably even more difficult for 19, 20-year-old kids to do as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, before I let you go, Jim, everyone wants to know Jim Mattson's Final Four and a national championship game and national champion. So do you have that? You filled out a bracket. Give me your Final Four, give me your national championship game, and give me your national champion.
I don't have my bracket right in front of me, but I've got Duke. I think Duke is historically good. I will root against them every game, but I have Duke winning it all. I have Florida. I have Michigan State, Houston. I think they're all ones and twos. I really think the top three teams in the country are Duke, Florida, Houston. Yeah. I think those are the three teams that could probably win with their B game, but when they have their A game, I think they're head and shoulders above everyone. I've had Alabama on that level all year, but they've kind of fallen off a little bit in my mind. But to me, those three teams are, and independently, when you look at their bracket, I'm like, I think they're going to win their little 16-team bracket, and I feel like they can win national champions. So I'm very chalk on my picks. But I wasn't very high on Florida, but I got a chance to watch them last week, and boy, they are. They're long and big and playing hard and very, very good. I mean, I'm hoping that Michigan State and Maryland and Illinois can make a run for the Big Ten. But when I watched that SEC tournament, it felt a little bit better than the Big Ten tournament to me, the talent on the court.
No, I would agree. You get to see Duke a lot. I mean, they're a national brand. Yeah. I can't unsee what I saw at Madison Square Garden because I do have respect for talent and for Illinois, and for them to do that to that team. Wasn't playing good at the time, but beating them by 20 is one thing. Beating them by 43 or whatever it was, right then and there, I turned to my son. I said, "Duke's going to be my national champion. It has to be." So I would agree with you as well.
That's the very same night. The very same night I said that. I said, you don't embarrass an Illinois team unless you're awfully special. Yeah. And for them to go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. And they've done that. They've had multiple 20-point wins. I just think this Duke team, and I'm not a Duke guy, but I think they're historically good.
Yeah, I'm not one either. It helps to watch them without Coach K on the sidelines. I wasn't a huge Coach K guy, so I do think John Shire does things a little bit different, a little bit better, but we'll wait and see. So, Jim, enjoy the trip to Milwaukee. Have a blast. I know you do a great job, and we'll catch back up with you hopefully next week when we can talk about a Sweet 16 for the Fighting Illini.
It'd be awfully nice. Enjoy the madness.
All right. That is Jim Mattson. Get ready to head to Milwaukee to cover the Fighting Illini. They get set to play Xavier. We know the opponent now. They play Xavier on Friday night. And, of course, Illini fans here in the Quad Cities will be glued watching that game and all of the March Madness as well. We got one last time out. Coming up next, I'm going to give you my Final Four, and then we're going to get ready for the madness and go watch some basketball. You're watching Off the Air on a Thursday right here in the Quad Cities. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist. Welcome back to Off the Air on a March Madness Thursday here in the Quad Cities. March 20th, the date, and of course, March Madness about to tip off in about 5 minutes. And of course, everyone wants to know my Final Four. Nobody wants to know that. But more importantly, I want to thank everyone who got into the Off the Air bracket challenge. But I have a confession to make. When you got in the pool, you're playing against this guy. Yeah, Carson Randazzo's back in the house. And you got in the March Madness pool, right? Okay. Do you think you have good picks? Do you think... Hold on, I got to turn your microphone on, baby. Do you think you got good picks or bad picks?
I think I got good ones.
You do? Okay, so, do you think you're going to win?
Yeah.
Okay, how far do you have Iowa going?
What?
I know they're not in the... I know it. So, okay, without further... You're quiet today. Put it down so we can see your face. All right, there. No, not the microphone, just your paper. All right, so how did you make your picks? Did you have any special way of doing it? Or how did you go about doing it?
So I do the side to big and some that like 11 seed that was higher. Mm-hmm. And then the side I would just do the ones that I want to win. Mm-hmm. And I would pick the other ones that I do not want to win. Like if they want to win, I just pick them. But if they lose,
yeah, no, that's
good. I know
you did a lot of
I know Illinois is not going to beat Kentucky.
Oh, they're not. Kentucky's going to win that game. So when do you have Illinois losing? Do you have them winning their first game?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have them losing. Okay, yeah. So without further ado, everyone wants to know. Carson, I'm not going to lie to you. You picked a lot of good teams in your Final Four. Give me your 4 Final Four teams.
Duke, Houston, Florida, and the one that I don't know.
Auburn?
Auburn. Yeah.
Auburn. So basically you picked all 4 number 1 seeds. That's good because they're probably good teams, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so who do you have winning it all? I'm going to give you a drum roll. Ready?
Duke.
Boom. Duke. You might be the only person that has Duke winning it. Oh, you think a lot of people do?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know Aunt Lisa's in the pool.
Oh yeah, she's going down.
I'm in the pool. Your brothers are in the pool. Your mom's in the pool.
Oh,
Grandma Hessman's in the pool. Are you in the family, who's gonna be the best? I don't know. I think your niece. My nieces. I think your cousins are in the pool. Emily, Molly, Katie. By the way, which one do you like more, Emily, Molly, or Katie? I can't remember.
That's a big upset, but I think Molly.
Molly?
Yeah, I like Molly more than I like
Oh, my goodness. That is the big upset. I have a feeling they're watching right now, and Molly's going crazy.
Yeah,
so,
Molly.
Okay. We need to let people go because we got to go downstairs and watch. We got bacon wrap weenies. We got pizza. We got a whole bunch of food. We're going to go watch Quit Watching Yourself on the thing. So, okay. So, you got Duke winning it all.
Yeah.
All right. I can't give you too much trouble because I think I'm real close to it. I have Duke winning it all. I think I have Tennessee in the Final Four. I got Auburn, and I probably got Florida or Texas Tech.
I got so lucky because I thought Duke was bad. But when I woke up and I came out there and I watched them do threes after threes, I was like, I think I should pick this team.
You don't get basketball analysis like that from anywhere else. Only on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. All right, put it down. Okay, we're done. So, put your feet down. Can you do the little song as we go out?
No.
Please.
I already did that once.
All right.
It was a disaster because you weren't out there and I did.
All right. I know you wasn't you like to do it. Come on. Okay. So Carson's on spring break, and so maybe he shows up again tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, we talked about Rob Brooks being here. Today, Rob not able to do it today, so Rob Brooks is going to be with us tomorrow from Norman, Oklahoma. So hey, sit up. Hey, sit up.
Hey, yo.
There you go. from Norman, Oklahoma. So we'll have Rob Brooks on tomorrow. We'll get you caught up on the NCAA tournament. Also, maybe some information of some of our guys that are in the portal, that maybe where they may be heading or their top lists, all those kind of things. We'll keep you updated on all the March Madness. Rob Brooks tomorrow and a whole bunch more. We want to thank Matt Drinkall. That was an awesome conversation. If you missed that, go check out Matt Drinkall, new head coach at Central Michigan, an awesome dude. So check that out. Jim Mattson as well. Good luck with your brackets. Hopefully you're not ripping your brackets up by 3 o'clock this afternoon. So enjoy the March Madness, and we will see you guys back here tomorrow for Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.